Trump says, I'm warning your president. Why? Because the Bible itself, 1 Corinthians chapter 13, from verse 4, tells you that if you are the president of the country, you are a minister of God, ordained not to carry the sword in vain. You know the meaning of that? You must punish evildoers. So when manslayers, kidnappers, rapists, pedophiles are going scot-free in a nation, corruption has covered the land. Everywhere you turn to is lies all over the whole place. And then you say you have a president who carries a sword? What President Trump was telling him was this simple. I'm a leader like you. It doesn't matter whether you are Muslim, Christian, or anything. It is God that permitted you to be a leader. And when you are a leader, you are not meant to carry a sword in vain. But what he was telling President of Nigeria is that you are carrying that sword in vain. And if you do not deal justice, I am coming. I have a bigger sword than your own, and I'm coming to use it in Nigeria. Now, how does that translate to when the church leader begins to say, don't let Americans attack us? If America attacks us, please, who is us? This is war of narratives. Are people so gullible? Once you speak like that, you are already creating a vacuum. And to make matters worse, that fellow who should be behind the bars, that's Sheikh Gumi, who talks from 7 parts of his mouth, a man who in any same country should not even be walking free. Even the one I reported when he came back from Saudi Arabia first, and did his first tafsir in the prior interview we had. Any country by now that man will be behind bars. Saudi Arabia rejected him when he wanted to try to enter Saudi Arabia.
Hello everybody. Once again, this is Fred Nwankwo coming to you from our studios in Chicago with another edition of Bull Talk on LNTV. And as usual, I like to say good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to you depending on where you are around the world. This episode is loaded with a message from a Yoruba man I respect a lot. I call him Rev Ladi. His full name is Rev Ladi Thompson. And it's brought to us by a Yoruba lady I respect a lot. Somebody who is probably half my age, Adeola, Fayehun. These are two people that stand out in Nigeria, not in Yoruba land, as people who are determined to change the course of Nigeria through presenting straight up objective narrative about how to fix the country. And when they go about it, they don't care whose ox is gored. Much of their message is about the corruption in Nigeria, and they make it clear that this corruption did not start with President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. However, they also make it clear that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has failed. But the good thing about them is they offer him ways to redeem himself. Many of you have seen this video, I'm sure. It came out yesterday. Many of you haven't seen it. There is one appeal that the indomitable Adeola Fayehun made at the end of that video. She said, please share this as far and wide as possible. She wasn't asking you to share it to hear her voice. She was asking you to share it to hear what Reverend Ladi is saying. Like my title said, first it was Dele Farotimi. Now it's Adeola Fayehun and Reverend Ladi. But we cannot take away people like Maiyegun, Yemi Adamolekun, Rufai Oseni, Ayoshe on Arise TV, and on and on and on. Uneasy lies the head that wears a crown. Bola Ahmed Tinubu is the president of Nigeria, and until he makes significant changes to bring about security in the country, the buck stops at his desk. I gave this little intro before I hand you over to Adeola Fayehun and Reverend Ladi, because a lot of times when I present my videos, I'm very hard on Yoruba bigots, not on Yoruba people. If I said what Reverend Ladi was saying here, or if I moderated an episode like Adeola did and invited somebody who said exactly what Reverend Ladi is saying, the bigots in Nigeria and my detractors will say he's tribalistic. And I keep going back to the same thing. I'm not tribalistic. I'm objectively looking at the decadence of Nigeria. And finally, to the Igbo bigots. There are Igbo bigots who are going to watch and listen to everything Reverend Ladi says here. But instead of listening to the message and the objectivity and the step-by-step proven methods He believes we can go about solving the security problem in Nigeria and uniting Nigerians, Christians and Muslims. What the Igbo bigot is going to get out of this message is they fought us in 1967. They killed our people in 1967. They are destroying our homes in Lagos. Every one of those is true. But does Rev Ladi or Adeola Fayehun or Farotimi, Yemi Adamolekun, or Rufai Oseni, or Maiyegun, or any of the slew of Yorubas that bring a message of fairness and equity, do they sound like people who support the destruction of Igbo property in Lagos? If we are going to make Nigeria right, we all have to be open-minded and objective in our criticisms, whether we're Igbos or Yorubas. If Nigeria is not going to work, I'm fully in support of breaking away and getting an Igbo state, whether we call it Biafra or whatever name is irrelevant. But until we get Biafra, if we're going to live in Nigeria, we must be open-minded in addressing issues that can unite us. In other words, I'm telling Igbo bigots, do not send any message to my inbox. Write it on the comment section so Nigerians can lambast you. Don't call me or send me messages telling me why you can't trust Yorubas. I can't trust Yoruba bigots, but I can trust good Yorubas. Here is the video, and sorry for the digression.
Can you please tell us what you wanted to say about Abubakar Shekau when we were having the last interview?
Like I said, I don't think there's anything new. I was so shocked when people were saying some of the things I was saying. I don't think there's anything new about what I'm saying. Let's take the case of Abubakar Shekau, for instance, who died finally. Remember the fellow who took over from Muhammad Yusuf? Let's start from Muhammad Yusuf of Boko Haram fame. Remember that when Muhammad Yusuf was overrun, first of all, there was a person in that place who was standing next to a colleague of mine who Yusuf ordered his execution. But before they could kill him, he turned to the person next to him who was a deacon who spoke to me directly and said, "Tell my family I died well." And I remember very well that when he gave me that report, I said, the family he's talking about is the entire nation, is the entire church community as well of Nigeria. Now, Yusuf was kidnapped and he was summarily executed in the custody of the police. It was an inside job. If Yusuf had lived to speak, a lot of these things would have been exposed earlier. But Yusuf was terminated by inside forces. I remember that when I talk, I'm not concerned with only the Tinubu dispensation. The same way I spoke when Buhari was there is the same way I'm speaking right now. Whoever is on the throne must be held responsible. Yusuf was summarily executed without trial. To make matters worse, all the people that Yusuf had killed, nobody got any compensation. And I can count them in thousands. And the federal government ended up paying 100 and how many million? 100 and something million to Yusuf's family. That was when Shekau took over. When Shekau took over, he began to terrorize the country. And then the federal government made an announcement. Now look at the games they've been playing with us for a while in Nigeria. They made an announcement that they thought that he was killed, that he had been killed during one attack or so of the government. Now everybody knows that he was not killed. And then to make matters worse, he now came out publicly to announce that I'm not dead, I'm alive. Do you know how many times the federal government announced that they killed Shekau? Then they began to talk about that, no, it was a double. The war of narratives. They started again telling stories left, right, and center. Now, let me tell you how Shekau really died. The Shekau that the federal government claimed to be looking for and could never get all these years, it was when Shekau had earlier come out to confess, because when we were saying that what is happening in Nigeria is not a local thing, but a global thing. Global means it is global with a local face. The country was in denial. Now, he had come out to tell people, everybody clearly, that he was associated with ISIL. And at that time, I think ISIL was headed by, was it Musa Banawi? Whatever his name was, whatever that guy's... I'll try to remember the name of the ISIS leader then. But then what happened was this. Watch this, because this is where the solution lies. ISIS became very embarrassed the way Shekau was talking. I told you that Islamic religion, Islamism, is a cover for a supremacist agenda. They are not only after northern Nigeria, they are after the whole of Nigeria. They are not only after the whole of Nigeria, they are after West Africa. And after West Africa, it will be Africa. And I told you that when they found out that it was working against their interest and the international community where they are raising funds, when the ISIS leader, Baghdadi, when the ISIS leader said, this is getting too embarrassing, and he sent a message to Shekau that he was to yield his position, and they were going to install somebody else. Now, don't forget that the terminology Boko Haram was invented by the Western press. It was a convenient coinage because Yusuf's radical set had been operating in Maiduguri all along with the cooperation of the state government. In fact, let's go into that story. What really caused all this that people heard about Yusuf that Yusuf was captured in, I think, 2008, was simply because, listen to me, around that time, I wrote a report. I wrote a report on behalf of CAN, and I circulated the report to all the authorities who should have been able to do something. I said, something is brewing in Maiduguri. If you go to the Maiduguri, the Islamists had a special uniform for their police. They had a special uniform for their military. They were working freely. Their enclave was well known. And frankly speaking, they were working with the cooperation of the governor. What really transpired was that the people became so blatant, they got to a checkpoint where, of course, you know, there's the police, there's soldiers, or moped and all that, and they got so rude because they refused to wear helmets. They became an authority to themselves. Now, during one of those encounters, they had a skirmish, and they were so belligerent, they tried to attack the authorities, and one of them was shot in the leg. When the report got to Yusuf of Boko Haram, he became annoyed. So what is going on here? That's when they began to attack the government, to show them who is who. All along, the politicians thought they were controlling him. But he knew that he had a global backup. Al-Baghdadi was his global backup. Many of them had been for training outside of Nigeria. So when they killed Yusuf and put him there, when Yusuf now got belligerent, and then they ended up capturing Yusuf. The person who was with him the day he was captured told me one-on-one when I was taking my reports. Now, they now gave an order when Shekau began to talk about the kidnapped girls, how he's selling them, how he's doing this and all that. In the war of narratives, that painted Islamism in a negative way. So I'm telling you that this Hydra is extremely intelligent. So they tried to replace him. What the federal government could not do, all these years making noise about looking for Shekau, it was actually ISIL that now sent in the replacement. I think the replacement was called, what's that guy's name again? I'll remember his name in a few minutes. The replacement that was sent to replace Shekau, they stormed Sambisa Forest. That was a degree of firefight. It was not the federal government that took out Shekau. He had put on a suicide vest. So when the forces of ISWAP, by them, I think they now call them ISWAP. It was Abu Musa al-Banawi. Yes, that was to replace him. When Abu Musa now came, I mean, the advanced team that was supposed to capture Shekau and make Shekau give up, don't forget that by now, those loyal to Shekau were fighting those who are loyal to ISIS and ISIL. Because ISWAP had now come up. That is Islamic States of West African Province. Now, when they thought they had got him, he exploded his suicide vest, taking out himself and all the commanders who are asked to come and take him. Listen, if there was no global media and all that, why is it that African nations are so mendacious, outright liars, deceiving people? Instead of, listen, nobody can ever beat this Hydra if the entire nation doesn't work with you. You must build consensus in the entire nation. So that game has been going on, and that game continues. And what I'm saying here, there's no secret about it. Go and check out media globally. There's nothing I've said here that is even new. It's only that in Nigeria, where the media is so corrupt, and the ones that are not corrupt are moles, so they control what they want you to hear. And I'm really embarrassed and I'm ashamed. Let me mention something here that I find very annoying because of the alleged. Right now, the church in Nigeria is supposed to take the forefront in making this nation survive. Why do I say so? Because of the religious cover, the Islamist cover of this terror hydra, this local terror hydra, the mosque is under pressure. It's understandable. Every Muslim who says, no, I don't want to do this, I don't want to do that, I don't want to cooperate with just killing people, they take them out. So you would think that it's the church leaders who, on behalf of not only Christians, on behalf of Muslims, on behalf of everybody, the church is meant to step up. Since we are the first that were killed for the first 15 years that we were being killed. That's how, in the field, I gathered so much experience. I said to you that in those days when I began to talk about asymmetrical warfare, hybrid threats, I introduced those terminologies into the lexicon of the Nigerian public. Because I remember talking about all these things. What makes me ashamed, honestly, is that people that God has positioned, who should be standing up, especially even in this government. There's one young man in this government. I hope I can remember his name. He's a minister. His father was butchered in Kaduna. In one of those skirmishes, I can't remember, I think it was a Zagun Kataf or so. He's a minister now.
Minister of Interior.
Minister of Interior. He was, I think, about 10 or 12 years old. His father refused.
Dr. Olubumi Tunjojo.
God bless you. His father is the Tunjojo there. His father was in the streets, died in his own blood. The man now who is whining and dining. Hello.
Why was his father killed?
Because he refused to convert.
From
Look, if I sit down and I give you, oh my God, the number of people who were killed just because they refused to convert under duress. Listen, one thing that has to be protected if Nigeria will make it is religious liberties. We'll come to that because there's a solution.
So what are you saying that the pastors are supposed to, the Christian religious leaders, what should they do?
I told you that you need to extract from your audience. First of all, I told you that there are two generations. There is a generation that I don't trust in Nigeria. My generations, older generations. I talked about 30 pieces of silver and people who are speaking from both sides of their mouth. And sometimes those who even want to speak, they speak in a way that it makes this matter even worse. So I told you that except your followers and your people in the younger generations, now what percentage of Nigeria is about 65? I think about 6% or so of Nigerians are about 65. Above 65 years of age. The greater majority of Nigerians, and just like other African countries, are youth. In fact,
42% are under like 15 and under. Almost half is 15 and under. Yeah, and the median age is 18 years old actually in Nigeria. So
okay, let me tell you what we are going to change now. I'm determined we are going to change this. Go to every African country. All their plans is for old people. Nobody has a plan for the younger generations. What nonsense. Nobody will be here forever. We are the circumcision. We worship God in the spirit. We rejoice in Christ Jesus. We have no confidence in the flesh. And I cannot imagine that our generations will come with all the advantages we enjoyed, with all the things that God has given to us. And then we sit down, we are watching a country in which young girls are going into prostitution, married women are going into prostitution. The poverty has been so weaponized. There's no truth anymore in the entire country. People are suffering. Brilliant people go to college, they come out, there's absolutely no employment for them. Then you go around and you know what the truth is? We have devalued life so much. We have completely devalued life so much. And let me tell you something about Nigeria. Nigeria's destiny is to be the redemption nation of Africa. And that's why I want you to do something on this your platform. Before the colonizers came, we were not speaking French or English. Thank God now for the advanced technologies, AI and all those things available. Make sure your program goes into French. Why am I saying so? To win this war, I want to give you a clue. If you are relying on this older generation of compromised persons, these persons who have surrendered to the Chiroterian conspiracy. Chiroptera is the genus of a bat, BAT. They've surrendered to it. Many are ready to be so mendacious, they are not even ready to stand up for truth. They couldn't care less. It's a generation of Ahabs.
Why we were fighting the first interview is I was insisting that I need you to be more specific. I still feel like you have said a lot and you are still being meticulous, being kind of broad in some of the things you said. You bashed the Christian religious leaders, but you didn't say what they're supposed to do. We're on the same page because I'm always talking about how they can do more. But some of them think that we are disrespectful because we are young people. We are saying that they are not doing more. But maybe if they hear from you telling us exactly what they should do, maybe it would have a meaning. Also, you are saying that we, the young people, that we need to break down the colonized, the mentality, the colonization mentality. Know what I'm saying, the barrier. You need to be more specific. Tell us exactly what you have in mind, how. So let's start with the pastors. Many of them, they will listen to you. You are older, because when we talk, they say we are disrespectful. What have they not been doing that they should be doing, or how have they failed that they can work on?
First of all, let us be very careful as we get started. Now, don't forget that I'm still a preacher. So when Jesus ever saw a crowd, he spoke in parables. When he sees dedicated people, he will speak plainly. So whenever I see a crowd gather anywhere, I'm not very impressed. Because what it takes to change a nation is not just a whole multitude, but people who are dedicated. And what you want me to talk about are the things we say to dedicated people, not to those who are titillated by news and all that, and then they go away and do nothing. Now, let me say this to you quickly in answering for the church. This is not a time for the division of the church, first of all. No matter what mistakes anybody has made in the past, are you getting what I'm saying? We need to forgive anybody, whatever statements. Let me tell you something that you don't know about this Hydra. Some of the leaders of the church are being blackmailed. Not just the church, across the country. This Hydra is powerful. It has been working since the late 1990s. Some are being blackmailed, some are being coerced, some were lured. So if we are going to be speaking truth to ourselves and we want to win, the first thing you need to know is that I said the church needs to stand up to protect not only Christians, but also to protect Muslims, to protect animists, and level the playing field if there's going to be a future for Nigeria. Now, let me tell you specifically what I need us to do for church leaders. Let's go to the war of narratives, first of all. Now, something is happening right now in Nigeria. Since Trump, God made him to come up with something that's very interesting. And what Trump came up with is a rescue plan. And if you listen to the wordings of what Trump said, and then you go and listen to what the church leadership is quoting in Nigeria, you will become afraid. Now, why am I saying this? I don't know if you have the Trump tweets there, so you can read it out and let us listen to what Trump actually had to say, and then let us compare it to what the media is reporting in Nigeria. It's a war of narratives.
I have Trump's tweets.
Yes.
I have Trump's tweet. I can read it. I want to beg of you, please tilt your camera a little bit side. This thing is cutting your head. We need to see the whole of you. Thank you. Thank you so much.
As long as they hear my voice, lift my face and my head, please.
He said if the Nigerian government continues to allow the killing of Christians, in fact, the USA will immediately stop all aid and assistance to Nigeria and may very well go into that now disgraced country, guns are blazing, to completely wipe out the Islamic terrorists who are committing these horrible atrocities. I'm hereby instructing our Department of War to prepare for possible action. If we attack, it will be fast, vicious, and sweet, just like the terrorist thugs attack our cherished Christians. Warning, the Nigerian government better move fast. That's his tweet, sir.
The Nigerian government better move fast, because if they don't move fast, who did he say is coming for? He said he's coming for the terrorists who are destroying Christians. Is that not what he said in his tweet?
Yes.
Now, let me tell you something, first of all, that we need to recognize in the church. God only says what he means, and he means what he says. Behind every war, the greatest war is the war of narratives. Bible says in Revelation chapter 12, check this out. In Revelation chapter 12, Bible says there was war in heaven. But the war started when God posted a narrative. A woman clothed in the sun standing on the moon, wearing a garland of 12 stars. Her body was shining. She was pregnant. It was a narrative about a man-child. Then Satan replied with a counter-narrative. The next thing, there was war. In the Garden of Eden, okay, watch this. God does not tolerate when you take his word and twist it, or anybody's word and twist it. In the Garden of Eden, the dragon did not give the serpent a gun. He didn't give him an AK-47. He gave him a counter-narrative. Enter the garden. You and I know what happened till today. Now, Trump says, I'm warning your president. Why? Because the Bible itself, 1 Corinthians chapter 13, from verse 4, tells you that if you are the president of the country, you are a minister of God, ordained not to carry the sword in vain. You know the meaning of that? You must punish evildoers. So when manslayers, kidnappers, rapists, pedophiles are going scot-free in a nation, corruption has covered the land. Everywhere you turn to is lies all over the whole place. And then you say you have a president who carries a sword? What President Trump was telling him was this simple. I'm a leader like you. It doesn't matter whether you are Muslim, Christian, or anything. It is God that permitted you to be a leader. And when you are a leader, you are not meant to carry a sword in vain. But what he was telling President of Nigeria is that you are carrying that sword in vain. And if you do not deal justice, I am coming. I have a bigger sword than your own, and I'm coming to use it in Nigeria. Now, how does that translate to when the church leader begins to say, don't let Americans attack us. If America attacks us, please, who is us? This is war of narratives. Are people so gullible? Once you speak like that, you are already creating a vacuum. And to make matters worse, that fellow who should be behind the bars, that's Sheikh Gumi, who talks from about 7 parts of his mouth, a man who in any same country should not even be walking free. Even the one I reported when he came back from Saudi Arabia first, and did his first tafsir in the prior interview we had. Any country by now that man will be behind bars. Saudi Arabia rejected him when he wanted to try to enter Saudi Arabia, but Nigeria opens up for him. Do you know what he's doing right now? He's going around the country building the war of narratives on the side of the terrorists in a clever way. He's going around the country trying to ingratiate the southern Muslims to join forces with them. I'm going to come to that. But this is what I'm trying to point out to you. If Gumi is saying, America cannot attack us, America cannot attack us, and the church too begins to repeat, America cannot attack us, what are you telling the Nigerian public? Who is the enemy here? Who is dividing life here? They first of all come out with all sorts of silly things about financial gain and this and that and that. Listen, the minister I talked, when his father was slain in Kaduna in the streets, who stood up for him? I don't want to start going into Andrew Northcott. I don't want to go to the Booker Thompson's family. I don't want to go to Reverend Father Gajere. I don't want to start going into young, what's his name again? Who in Jos, they were shouting Allahu Akbar. Called his parents on the phone to listen as they slit his throat. I said to you, the first thing we must do is to blow the Islamic cover. And it's the church that should do it. So what am I trying to point out to our church fathers is this. Church fathers, church leaders in Nigeria, please, the war of narratives, you must say what you mean. And you must mean what you say. Because people can be very gullible in the war of narratives. If you speak in innuendos, you know there are sometimes somebody wants to preach on the pulpit, you hear him say, actually, still yet, but
although, can you hear me?
Yes? Can you hear me?
Can you hear me? Hello? Okay, we lost you for a minute. Yes, we hear you now. It was frozen for a minute. Can you please summarize what you just said?
I just warning anybody on a pulpit, say what you mean what you say. Don't interpret like a serpent in the Garden of Eden. Trump never said he was coming to attack us. He said he was coming to enforce religious liberties and value to human worth.
It's breaking again. But I think you said Trump never said he's coming to attack us. Was that what you said? Because it was frozen again. You said Trump never said he was going to attack Nigeria.
Yes.
That pastors should not say what Gumi is saying. That's what you said, right?
Exactly. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Okay, awesome. Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, this is the work of...
Yes.
So I'm saying now that if pastors are saying that, they are dividing the country wrongly. If anything, we should be encouraging pastors to give value to the life of the Muslim. Give value to the life of every person. The young children who are being raped. Look at the recent nonsense debacle they put up for you to know how beastly we have become in Nigeria. They kidnapped people, brought them back. How many of them were raped? Nobody told us. Do you know how many people we received, who we took care of, girls? I remember a pathetic case. The girl had HIV. After she escaped, she had HIV. We had to arrange trauma counselor. How do you tell a 16-year-old girl, 14-year-old girl that she has HIV? Nobody cares that other people's children are being brutalized, they're being battered. As long as you can buy your own Jeep, as long as you can have your own... Please. Please. So what I'm saying now is that, first of all, let ministers say only what they mean and let them mean what they say. Now, let me now give you an extra for that. Some years ago, I won't mention the year, we were in a northern state when we received a letter from the table of the governor of that state, who was an Islamist. We read it because the head of a massive church, the church has about 3-4 million, if not more, maybe 10 million members. He had come into that particular state and he preached on the pulpit, and he was so annoyed that he warned that, look, do you think you are the only one with monopoly of violence? Not knowing that we are monitoring internationally and locally. Now, what church leaders need to know is this. We had to leave that particular state and drive at least about 14 hours to another state to go and talk to that church leader. And we had to analyze something for him that I want us to listen to carefully now. We told him, the Islamists rejoice when church leaders talk carelessly. Why? They are going to interpret what you have said into Arabic. And they're going to twist it in the war of narratives to show how Nigeria hates Muslims. Nigeria wants to kill Muslims, which is not true. And when they do that, they use it to raise more funding all over the world, buy more ammunition, and they will give instruction that they must not kill that church leader. Why? Because what he's saying is very useful to them. So sometimes we try and get people to understand that listen first to counsel. War of narratives is delicate. You may think you are saying something good by boasting and shouting, we too we can do this, we too we can do that. You are not helping. You are making matters worse. So that's enough for now for the church, because we'll come back to the church later on. But for now, I think we need to recognize that the role of the church is crucial, but that is something we better do behind closed doors, not coming to say it in the public just yet.
Okay. All right. So you want to talk about how we can get rid of the barrier built up by the colonial masters?
Yes. How can we get rid of the barrier by the colonial masters? Now, don't be fooled. What we are up against here is both ancient and modern. Remember that the reason why Gumi seems to be influential in northern Nigeria is because his father used to be the Grand Kadi, both of Kaduna and of northern Nigeria. And remember, the rivalry in those days was based on the demonization of the Christian South. So that even in the civil service and in all things, there was an enmity based on the British legacy of divide and rule. Don't forget that there was a sense of entitlement. If you go and read the Dandogo Motion, 1958, Northern House, don't forget that this was engineered. It's not the fault of northern Nigeria. It was the colonial lords who preserved divide and rule based on religion. Okay? So what we are dealing with today is the Osama bin Laden upgrade, which is deadlier, more intelligent, more powerful, global, and it's a hydra. If you remember what I said about the hydra, it's not just religious. It is something that has a head in education, it has a head in governance, it has a head in politics. It is invested in practically every area of life, and they have spent many years doing that. Okay, so if we are going to destroy this thing and we are going to win this war, first of all, let me tell you the truth. The moles in high places that are tolerating people like that boy's son, Ahmed Gumi, the father was one who in 1962, he toured the Middle East. If you remember the national, what's they call that body, that was the Islamic body that was formed in Nigeria in 1962, it was his father's influence, okay? But his father, let's tell the truth, my friend Abu Bakr, let anybody ask who Abu Bakr is in Ghana, who fled to Ghana. 1987, it was a Christian convert, Kafanchan, who began to preach. When he began to preach, they beat him up and left him for dead. They thought they had killed him. But Christians gathered around and he revived. When he revived, listen to me, go and check the headlines of those days. And I think there was one popular newspaper in those days that put a report on Abu Bakr. The federal government declared him wanted. The army was looking for him. The police were looking for him. What for? For preaching. They said he is worthy of death as a former Muslim. Why should he become a Christian? And the older Gumi, he told me the story himself. The person who was hunted down, who was being hunted, Abu Bakr, he's still alive right now. He's in Ghana, so you can call him because he had to, leave the country. The elder Gumi, it was reported to him that they said, bring him to me. I will personally take his head off for what he did. Now, a country that plans to be the Redeemer nation of Africa cannot afford such divisions. So what is it that the country must do? Now, the biggest problem we have in Nigeria is not 450,000 terrorists. You know why? If we knock out, listen, it's a hydra, it has many heads. But if we want to deal with it, we go for his heart. Now, let me tell you a simple truth now, why we must go for his heart and why it is not a coincidence that it is America that God has raised to come and help us. There's something that America has that Islamist terrorism hates. In fact, between you and I, they call America the Great Satan. That's what they call America. Why is America the Great Satan? Look, all iniquity, all demonic perversions that devalue human worth are all based on only one thing. Unfortunately for us, the foundation of America is laid on the cure to what is troubling Nigeria. Let me put it like this. There are only two nations in this world right now. The nations that exploit the fact that all men are not born equal. They rejoice in it. Men are not born equal. But there are nations that do what? Celebrate the truth, eternal truth, that all men are created equal. In a nation that builds a foundation on all men. Oh, thank you. Where did you get a picture of my friend? That's him. Still looking as young as ever. He's an old man. Oh. Don't let anybody do it. As tough as nails. That's one of the leaders of the church in Nigeria. When I talk about credibility, who laid down his life and is still doing the same till today. Where was I? Now, when America said, we hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal. It means that whether your father is a federal minister or your father is a bicycle repairer or is a hunter, when you are born, your value is the same. Now, we are helping America too because America doesn't know this. Most Americans think that their country is a geographical country. No, it's not. When the founding fathers of America cried out to God in their hour of trouble, it is the same Britain that colonized us that colonized them. And when they cried out to God in their hour of trouble, God saved them and put something in their hand. I'm not interested in what men did. I'm interested in what God did. What God did was to put into their hands a statement meant for every nation of the world. Give value to your citizens. All men are created equal. But most nations prefer to exploit, like Nigeria now, weaponization. And that is what Dr. Ahmed Gumi is trying to propagate all over the whole place. That all men are not born equal. So some people are inferior, some people are superior. Now, that creed is what we need to inject into the Nigerian foundation. So let me now digress a bit. I don't think it's a mistake in 1996. The best performance of our young people. I don't know if anybody here remembers Olympic soccer, Los Angeles, 1996. Amunike, Kanonwako, Amokachi, and who was it again? All those young boys then. The best performance in soccer that we have ever seen. Listen, nobody gave them a chance. Those boys came home with gold. God is talking to Nigeria. Not only Nigeria, God is talking to Africa. Because the victory in Los Angeles was not just about Nigeria. That soccer victory was the whole of Africa, was cheering. And if we are doubting it again, let me give you another witness. There's something they call the miracle at Daman. 4 goes down. How many minutes to go? Who thought it was possible? A FIFA-ranked competition. We beat Russia. Nigeria came back from the impossible. It was the youth. It was the youth. As I am right now, I'm not putting my trust in any old cargo, an old set of entitled people who don't care about other people's families. They have no, as long as you can buy a small car, build one funny little house, they don't know that in a country where there's value for the life of every citizen, what you're using to do big man is what poor. Look, there are some countries where it is better to be poor in that country than to be rich in Nigeria. So what am I trying to point out to you? The salvation of Nigeria is in the young people. And I want to show you where the real enemy is and what the young people have to do. This is what America is offering. The American eagle and the Nigerian green eagle have to work together. The American eagle is older. This is my parable of 2 eagles. We saw the young people performing. Every great thing Nigeria has done has come from the young people. So why is it that in governance, all the plans is about old people, never about the young people? We want to hear comments about what is going on in the country. Old people will just be talking their own, and all they are saying has no reckoning with the future. How can the country live by planning on the past, the prisons of the past? There are many things that I'd like to address. Do you know that if we allow the young people, they will resolve all the differences in Nigeria? They will use the advantages of the digital divide. We can move Nigeria to the forefront of civilization, and that's why we need America. Not just because of 450,000 terrorists in total. Those ones are too small. Next Sunday, I'm going to be having a program, I think it's next Sunday, to reveal the real enemy that Nigeria must fear. And you will do me the favor of please helping to invite people, because I want to unmask the real enemy. I will give you a hint of who the real enemy is. 2007, Christiana Oluwashesi. I don't know, I should have sent you a picture where I was carrying the child she left behind, the 2 children she left behind, and her husband. When the Macedonian initiative got involved, we were aghast. Children by nature are not killers. Children are not killers by nature. The people who slaughtered their Christian religious teacher in government-day secondary school in Gandu in Gombe were children. Why? Because in the evening, they go for Islamic classes. In the morning, they're in school, and they had a Christian religious teacher, Christiana Oluwashesi, who was helping out. She was so diligent and everything. And the imam, whose nickname was the Angel of Death in that town, radicalized the students. They came and picked the teacher on one funny charge. Fake, all this fake is not new. They teach them what to do. Before you knew what was happening, they were shouting Allahu Akbar. The principal, who is a Muslim, came in, rescued that woman, took her to his office. Can you imagine children broke down the principal's door and warned him, we will kill you too. Children became ravaging monsters for a few hours. Not only did they beat that woman to death, they doused her and burnt her body to death. I have the pictures. I would have shown it if not that there are restrictions on the internet. When they burnt her body to death, let me show you how bloodthirsty these young vampires had become. They remember she's nursing a baby, and the child was in the house by the gate. They ran to that place to go and collect that baby, to kill her baby as well as the mother. Having burnt the mother, burnt her car. Fortunately for us, on Sunday, the young man who rescued the baby, God quickly prompted him. He went to that place, collected the baby before the students got there, took the baby to the police station for the police to take care of the baby. Do you know the school children went there demanding, just like they did for Akamuka in Kanu? The students went there to demand that the baby be brought out so that they can kill the baby. Are children natural killers? No. Deborah Samuel, or whatever her name was, in Swakoto, was that not the same thing? Let me warn everybody now. In southern Nigeria, your children are learning, going online to go and show their body parts. And in southern Nigeria, you are busy teaching your children the fineries of, something, sophistication and all that nonsense. Trust me, if I tell you how many millions have been radicalized, 16 children who were charged then in Gombe. I personally, our team in Macedonia Initiative, we took on a senior advocate of Nigeria. You know what that cost? In those days, basically 1 million that we paid first. Pius Akubo, one gentleman like this, what's his name? He came on the best recommendation. Do you know he pursued that case? They refused to proceed. The judiciary was involved. Danjuma Goje, the governor at that time, will cite security reasons, and then at the end of the day, sort of threw the case out, asked us to go to a neighboring state for hearing of a crime that was committed. Some of my staff almost died when I asked them to go and collect some more information. They had to scale a wall because those people were just ready to kill. Now, those 16 children, that was 2007, I think. How old are they now? Are they working in an office somewhere? How many of them are already in the House of Reps? How many of them are working free? Now, apart from the educated ones who have been radicalized, let's go to a state like Kano. I had an office in Guduna with my very good friend I call General, John Joseph Haya, where we used to feed Almajiris, take care of them and all that. It's not the fault of those children. They are being used. Do you know that there's nothing less than a standing army of 7 to, if not 15 million young people who have been conditioned that if a certain signal goes out, these are the things that the sultans know. These are the things that the Sheikh Gumis know. So while Nigeria is busy fixating on terrorists that we can take out in 2 weeks, the sleeper cells, the ones who have been programmed, who need to be deprogrammed, are there, mixing with you in your office. Some of them are working in hospitals. Some of them are working in the telecom industry. Some in media. They're around you. They've killed before. But will they tell you that? I can tell you from my own experience, many of them, when their conscience cannot take it, they used to come and confess to us because they can't sleep. Now, what am I trying to point out now? The youths from all over Africa, West Africa, need to join the youths in Nigeria. And we need to speak with one voice. What America has is this. All men are created equal must be put into the foundation. Listen, Nigeria never had founding fathers. What we had was liberation fathers. I can give you the quotes from Zeke, Obafemi Awolowo, from the Sedona. I can give you the quotes. In fact, I remember that the first Prime Minister of Nigeria, Abubakar Tafawa Balewa, in the 7th of October in 1960, he said something. He was at the United Nations when he made a speech, and he foresaw what is happening in Nigeria today. He mentioned the 3 faiths that we are swearing in. He mentioned intractable problems. And he said, long after his name is forgotten, how many people remember Abubakar Tafawa Balewa in Nigeria history today? He said, long after you have forgotten who I am, he said, when you need to solve the problem of Nigeria, you know what he said we should use? He said we should go and look for eternal truths, or what did even the way he put it? Yes, truths that are eternal, undeniable truths. What is the undeniable truth? Is that not what is in the foundation of America? Americans think that their country is geographic. Americans don't realize that it is not just all Americans that are created equal. It's all men that are born equal. So if Trump comes with a mandate that God put in the foundation of America to demand of Nigeria, it is God telling Nigeria, Nigeria, you are the lead country of Africa. There are countries around you that need to be liberated. The Francophone countries are the worst. They treated them so shabbily, so badly, that there's hardly any life. Look, I told you, 125,000 children are born daily in Africa. To what? To what promise? A promise of shame. A promise of scarcity. Is it because of the few people that come from Nigeria here and there, and those who are fortunate to born into families that have some wealth behind them? The average African child, let me tell you something, 95 out of every 1,000 that are born are likely to die at birth. If I show you the figures for sub-Saharan Africa, how many will ever make it to the age of 50? Is this the life of a human being or the life of a beast? So the people who are affected most are the youth. But the older people have the wisdom, but not the integrity. So that's why I'm saying to you, use your platform. I'm going to show the youth that what America is bringing, forget about all the politics and all that. Number one, value to human worth. We must cement it in the Nigerian foundation. Number two, America has a form of governance that had never existed before until 1787 when they wrote their first constitution. Now, Nigeria keeps talking about constitution. It's not about constitution. Let me tell you what I'm saying now. United States Constitution is 4,400 words. Zimbabwe is 55,000 plus, 55,883 words. Zimbabwean Constitution. Apart from Zimbabwe, we have the Ugandan, 49,448 or something like that words. Nigerian Constitution is already 66,263 words, verbose and long and useless. That constitution is so flawed, it's not worth tissue paper. So the declaring of an emergency by the president means nothing. Let me tell you the strategy that is going on right now. They are buying time. The Hydra is very patient. Gumi is going around Nigeria building consensus, further dividing the country. They know that there are global conventions. So for Trump to come and interfere, they are trying to show that all Nigeria is united, that America wants to attack us. You see what I'm saying? Now, the Nigerian constitution till today is useless. So the Nigerian youth, combination of North and South, we are not two countries, we are one. We must mobilize youth across the divide, across religion, across tribe, across everything, and then we are going to teach them to demand a tropicalized American-style democracy. America is not a democracy, it's a democratic republic. So the help we need from America goes beyond boots on ground to come and clear all these people. No. What we really need from America is the foundation that makes a democratic republic to work. Number two, we are not going to copy it whole-ha. We have to tropicalize it. I have already written a proposal for one of the African countries, which they are looking at right now. Instead of a three-legged democracy, we need a five-legged democracy. We need to add a house of faith and a house of tradition to the presidency, to the judiciary, and to the upper and lower house, to the upper and lower houses. So if we have a five-legged stool, we will tropicalize it. We will produce the best democratic republic ever seen, and you will see what will happen in Nigeria. Once the value of everybody's life becomes okay, it will spread. It's a domino effect. The rest of Africa will be saved. But there's still one more thing. And this is the thing that I may stop on today. And let's take maybe some questions and all that, because I could go on forever. Listen to me. What we need the most from America is not just the foundation of all men created equal. If anybody says all men are not created equal in Nigeria, then you can't be part of Nigeria. Go away. All the mischief you are playing is based on you preaching to people that all men are not born equal. So you think it's okay to oppress some people's children. I schooled in Ahmadu Bello University, so I know what I'm talking about in terms of practical terms. Some of my sons who are spread all over northern Nigeria, some of them escaped this trap by joining the army. Some of them is because they were brilliant and they got scholarships. And you would expect people like that funny fellow who ruled Kaduna for a while to appreciate what God has done for him. Instead, he joined the oppressors. And we are not talking about him now. He shouldn't be walking free. So what am I saying that we need to give to the youth is this? There's something that America has, apart from the foundation of born equal, apart from a unique self-repairing constitution, balance of powers. But we have to tropicalize that. What we need right now is to look for the leadership of youth and let us instruct them on non-violent direct action. Number of youths in Nigeria, I give them 6 weeks. They will secure the cooperation of the president.
Like I said at the beginning, the video is very long. It's over 2 hours long. And I want to cut you the pain. Many of my viewers don't like long videos. So this realistically is 4 or 5 times the length they are comfortable with. But my take on this is, if you're on social media and you're following Nigerian news and the atrocities going on in Nigeria, and you feel that a 2-hour detailed video of telling you what's wrong with Nigeria and offering solutions on how to is too long, you don't belong in watching any reasonable content creator bring good stuff to the internet. I know a lot of people who want to sound elitist and intellectual and call me and say, Fred, we like your videos, but they're too long. 5 minutes, 8 minutes, that's all we need. Go to TikTok and watch what you want to watch. This is serious business. But at least I'm meeting you in the middle. If you want to see the rest of the video for those who are serious-minded people about change coming to Nigeria, if you Google or go to YouTube and type in Adeola Fayehun, Adeola Adeola Fayehun, Fayehun, that's her last name, and the topic is Nigerian government lied about Shakau. Shakau is spelled Shakau. You're going to get the full video. It's very interesting. In the meantime, ladies and gentlemen, once again, this is Fred Nwankwo coming to you from our studios in Chicago with another edition of Bull Talk on LNTV. And until next time, good night and God bless.
From beaten pieces, a story began. One man with a vision, one heart with a plan. Ink-stained fingers, sleepless nights. Truth on the page, our people's life. Headlines faded, but the mission stayed. Through the storms, we still made our way. No corporate backing, no fame, no show. Just heart and hustle, and the will to grow. Be part of the call. Lift your voice and join the flame. 40 years we built this hope. Our story, our name. Sponsors, partners, family, friends. Let's rise again. Together we'll stand. Helen Media, we tell your truth, covering our community.
Welcome to Bright Star Care Airbnb, located at plot 2526 Victor 104 Crescent, Aja. We are fully furnished rooms, 24 hours power supply, 24 hours internet, secured environment, smart door keys for your safety, and of course, spacious parking space. You are free to call for reservations. You can contact 090-330-72596. We are the go-to place for your long stay or short stay. Bright Star Care Airbnb Homes.